So we're going to lift this up, set it on the bottom, and then tilt it up, and then we'll fasten it with some screws. That stuff is pretty heavy. And today we're going to install the back window in the back of the house. So our goal for today is to get this big old window to replace this window here. So we're going to have to open up this wall. We're gonna build our frame on the inside, and then we'll saw out, and then we'll set our window. If all goes well, we'll be looking less like the hood and more like a Buyz. So let's do it. Okay, looking at this wall here, looks like the rafters run to this outside wall, and then that weight is carried down these studs to the foundation. So this is a load-bearing wall. What we're gonna have to do is put a header in here, and because the span is 59 inches, it's gonna require a 2x8. So we'll do two 2x8s sandwiched together, and that will be our header for the top of this opening. In order to make space for this window, we got to remove 2 more of these studs. Before we do that, we definitely want to put some support in here. So I got a 4x4 post, and I'll screw a 2x6 to the top of that to make a T, and then I'll set that in here, pound it in place. And then it's really important to do that. If you take off all this weight, this whole thing could come falling down on top of your head. You don't want that to happen. Now you want to be sure your post is lined up with the floor joist. Otherwise, this post can just crush right through this floor. So we line up on the center with our joist. I'm going to raise this up. So we'll just keep pounding on this until it's plumb. As you can see here, we're going to try to get it to support these 3. That should be enough to hold this wall up. We may do another 2x4 on that one there, but this will keep us safe. This will keep you safe. Okay, before we start tearing this apart, I'm going to go ahead and lay out where my studs are going to go, and then do the header. Then we'll take the sawzall and we'll just cut around for a bigger hole. So the window was 56 1/8. So we marked the center of the wall here, and the math on that here, it's 56 1/8 wide. We want a 1/4 inch on either side for our shims. That's 56 5/8. We divided it by 2, we get to 28 5/16. So we're going to go off of our center mark here, and then we're going to measure 28 5/16 this way and 28 5/16 that way. We'll mark that. We'll get the bottom plate marked. Well, on the outside of that line is where we'll put our jack stud, and then outside that will be a full stud that runs from the bottom plate to the top plate. So I'll get this marked out, and then we'll start cutting some 2x4s and get this frame built. 28 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/16. Get your speed square. Get you a good straight line. So we've measured 28 5/16 from the center of where we want our window to here. We'll do the same thing on the other side, and we'll figure out where we want the bottom of the window to go. So the height of our wall is 94 inches. Let's do some math. So the height of the wall is 94 inches. Our window is 72 1/8. So 7/8, 1. We got 21 7/8. The 21 7/8 total. So we got to figure out if we were to center it, 21 7/8 divided by 2, 16ths. So half of this is 7/16. So we got 10.5 plus 7/16. So we got 8/16 and 7/16. That's 15/16. So we got this height here. It's going to be 10 and 15/16. So we go 10 and 15/16 here, and 10 and 15/16 here. That would give us our space if we're going to center it from top to bottom. So let's go back inside and we'll mark that off, and then we'll cut some wood. Okay, now that we've got our new stud in here, what you'll notice is the old nails are on the old studs, but we don't have anything here. So I'm going to go ahead and drive a screw into each one of these, so that way when we take our sawzall down the inside of this stud and we saw this through, these boards will be secured and they won't be flapping around. So let's do that. Show you what that looks like. Okay, so we want to put 2 screws per board, and I'll go ahead and finish this up, and then we'll get the sawzall out and cut. Okay, we've got all these boards secured, so let's take our sawzall and let's open up this wall. Let's open up this wall. 2x4 is a guide. So we'll do the same thing on this side of the wall. Go ahead and finish going up. Okay, we're getting closer to getting our opening, so we'll build the bottom of this, set our header. If all goes well, we'll get a window in today. We got the opening out, so now we got to finish up our 2x4. So we cut these off flush, so our bottom one, so we'll add 2 more. We'll put a 2x4 on top of that. So it's critical that we get this dead level. So I cut these, it's not perfectly level, so a little bit of teeter-totter action going on. So we're just gonna put shims in here where it's level, screw it down, and we'll be good. Make sure we're flushed out with the wall. We'll tap, tap, taparoo. Tap, tap, taparoo. Get in your home. Get in your home. You always want to use your hammer when you got to do a little tap. Don't use your hand, even though you can probably do it. You give yourself. You're gonna have bad joints later on if you do that. So, when we set this other jack stud in here, it makes it kind of tight. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my screw started first, then I'll set this in there and screw it down. Okay, so we measured our header here. Notice we got two 2x4s for it to rest on, and then a continuous board. We got 63 inches across the top. So we'll cut the header, we'll put a 2x4 on the bottom of that, we'll set that in there, and then we can let the pressure off this jack post. And then we can set our window. Okay, so let's build our header. We're going to screw these boards together, and then we'll screw our 2x4 on the bottom, and it'll sit like that. Okay, if the gods are on our side, then we're going to take this header, we're going to set it up in there, and it's going to fit on the very first time. So, let's see. It's almost dead level. We're gonna put a shim on the end there. I think that'll get us dead level, and then we can set the window. Okay, before we get too excited and start fastening this header in with screws, let's just double check our height. Let's see if we landed where we intended to land. We got 72 3/4, and our window is 72 1/8. That leaves us 5/8 gap. I dare say that perfect. As you can see, it's a beautiful fall day in Kansas City. We've got our frame all the way in, and now we're going to try to move this. It's about a 250 pound window over to this opening, and then hopefully lift it up. I don't know if I can do it by myself. I may need to go grab a neighbor for some help, but we'll give it a go. Yeah, I gotta go get a helper. I'll be right back. Okay, so I went and grabbed a neighbor. I got some help, so we're gonna lift this up, set it on the bottom, and then tilt it up, and then we'll fasten it with some screws. That stuff is pretty heavy. Okay, we got the window in, as you can see. Looks like new money. We're running out of daylight. It's time to pack up the tools and go home. Now remember, I'm not a professional. Please try this at home.